Over the Garden Wall is an animated TV series that aired for just 1 week in November of 2014, but for some of its fans, it's become required viewing every fall since. So what's the secret formula that creator Patrick McHale and his team found to make this little miniseries so rewatchable? It may be the cozy bucolic imagery, the delightfully spooky tone, or the cultural nostalgia reaching back generations. It might be all the fun references to classic cartoons you can find, or all of its parallels to Dante's Inferno in terms of plot, setting, structure, and characters, but I think it's the rich themes this 10-episode miniseries explores that people really connect with. Innocence, responsibility, hope, despair, trust, agency, and at the top of it all, there's the main theme that drives the entire story forward. I'm talking, of course, about the most primal survival instinct we have, the most basic of human emotions. It's love. Over the Garden Wall is a love story, but not just about romantic love like most other love stories. This is about all love. Brotherly love, the love between friends, and even that overly dependent, maybe not so healthy kind of love. See, a while back, ancient Greek philosophers came up with around 9-ish different words for all of the warm fuzzies us people feel toward each other. Depending on who you ask, there could be more or less. Funny enough, with Over the Garden Wall, if you take these 9 love words and assign them each to a different chapter of the show, you get a full episode devoted to each kind of love. But what's that, you say? There are 10 chapters, but only 9 loves? Oh, we'll get to that. Because not only do these chapters exemplify the different types of love, they also help our protagonist Wirt along his way in his character arc, which just might tie into our missing chapter without any love. In fact, it's Wirt's lack of love that is kind of the central conflict to the series. Over the Garden Wall may be a love story, but it's not about all of the smiles and rainbows that love has to offer. This show is about how scary love can be. Making yourself vulnerable to someone leaves you wide open to getting hurt, and loving someone all but guarantees intense sadness someday in the future when that person either leaves you or dies. So this miniseries poses the question, if love is so risky, then why do we love it all? Well, to find the answer, come with me into the unknown, a mysterious place that few have seen, where long-forgotten stories are revealed to those who travel through the wood. Naturally, before we dive into any story, theme, or character arc, we gotta know the character that will be doing said arcing. Wirt is our protagonist this time, and we meet him as he finds himself lost in the woods with his brother Greg, and a frog. Here at the start of his journey, we get a nice little list of all the character flaws he's going to need to overcome. Let's start with Wirt's relationship to love, the thing I'm claiming to be the theme of this entire work. One of the first things Wirt says in this whole series pertains to his freshly broken heart.
Though I am lost, my wounded heart resides back home in pieces, strewn about the graveyard of my lost love.
We don't know the details at the moment, but we see him pining for someone he can't be with. And the mention of a graveyard makes it sound like it's a pretty done deal with no hope. Content to be slightly forlorn, Wirt romanticizes his sad experience via poetic language that he recites to an audience of himself. Wirt sees love as a thing that is out of reach for him, and will continue to assume that for much of this story. We'll see that this certainly doesn't pertain solely to romantic love, and one of the causes of this problem may have something to do with his next flaw.
Do you think it's some kind of deranged lunatic with an axe waiting out there in the darkness for innocent victims?
Wirt always assumes the worst of people. When he first meets the woodsman, the only responsible adult around this mysterious forest, who really only means to help, Wirt assumes the guy is going to kill him. Granted, this whole place is a bit creepy, so maybe it's good to be a little guarded, but Wirt also refuses the help of Beatrice, a friendly little bluebird he meets. His initial fear of others, and his refusal to accept help, will be a recurring problem for Wirt in many of the upcoming chapters, because trusting people requires a bit of a gamble, and Wirt will avoid trouble at all costs.
Greg, you're gonna get us into trouble again.
In fact, Wirt is afraid of taking any risks. He never wants to mess up. He second-guesses every instinct he has, so he'll have someone else take the risk for him, usually his naive little brother, and then blame them if something goes wrong. Or he'll just do nothing and then regret it.
We should ask him for help.
No, we should not ask him for help. Shoot. You think we should have asked him for help?
Wirt can't handle the responsibility of failure, and thus has a hard time making any progress on his own. And of course, let's not forget the obvious.
Greg, I think we're lost.
Wirt is lost. Literally lost in the woods, as we can see, but as we get to know Wirt, we'll see this being lost in the woods as a metaphor for being lost in life. Like when traversing the dark wilderness, Wirt is unsure, scared, and wandering through life mostly alone. The woods and the world of the unknown represent Wirt's personal struggle.
Welcome to the unknown, boys. You're more lost than you realize.
So now we've established that Wirt is a lonely, untrusting, defensive little guy aimlessly fumbling through life. But at least he's doing it his way, baby. right? Well, in this first chapter, we hit upon our first Greek word for love, astorge, which ironically is not a word meaning love at all. It's actually the absence of love. Astorge is the lack of natural affection, unsociability. Wirt shows a lack of empathy when he entertains a plan to knock out the helpful woodsman and run away, or when he sends his defenseless little brother out into the dark wilderness when he gets too inconvenient to talk to. Wirt's not spiteful or evil. That would require too much passion. He's just self-centered and kind of indifferent to others. He just wants to be left alone. Wirt's lack of connection with other people or his own emotions cause him to feel empty inside.
Sometimes I feel like I'm just like a boat upon a winding river, twisting towards an endless black sea, further and further drifting away from where I want to be, who I want to be.
Wirt feels aimless, like he has no control over anything. This, of course, can be attributed to his defeatist attitude, his indecisiveness, and his self-isolation. He wants a better life, but he just doesn't see the way to get there. This is the starting point for our protagonist's character arc, and we'll see these themes of lovelessness and isolation reflected with the woodsman as well.
Everyone has a torch to burn, and this here is mine. I grind the horrid hazelwood trees into oil to keep this lantern lit. This is my lot in life. This is my burden.
We don't know all of the details this early in the story, but like Wirt, the woodsman has also resigned himself to a life of solitude, carrying out this mournful task every day for the rest of his life. Later on, we'll come to know that this Sisyphean obligation is very much tied to the pain of a lost love and his inability to cope with it. While Wirt may be concerned that he'll get hurt if he cares too much, the woodsman has already been hurt by caring for someone, and now he's closed himself off from everyone. The parallel implies that if Wirt continues down this path of self-isolation and lovelessness, he too will be consumed by a dark, unfulfilling existence, just like the woodsman before him. In this chapter, the woodsman also gives the boys advice about avoiding an entity called the Beast that lurks these woods. Wirt is unsure whether or not to believe the woodsman at first, but eventually, while he's preoccupied, reflecting on his miserable state,
What's happening? Where's your brother?
a big nasty dog monster attacks the old mill they're staying in.
It's the Beast!
Wirt and Greg are forced to run, only narrowly escaping its deadly jaws by distracting it with some candy and accidentally exorcising the evil turtle out of it. In the process, the whole mill is destroyed, leaving the woodsman without the means to complete his endless work. All things considered, this guy takes it pretty well. These kids just show up and ruin his whole setup. Sure, he's pretty devastated, but he doesn't take it out on them. He even tries to give them more advice, a far cry from the axe-wielding maniac that Wirt had him pegged as. Maybe people aren't as bad as you think. But hey, at least they conquered the Beast, right?
The dog? That is not the Beast!
The woodsman is quick to set this straight, because the Beast, the real Beast, is not loud and bombastic like the dog monster, nor is he able to be defeated through dumb luck. He's slow and scheming. In the shadows. You won't see him coming, and when you do, he's already in your head. The woodsman calls him the Death of Hope, which is pretty much literally what he is. The Beast represents the danger of giving into despair, accepting that things will not get better, that you will not find your way home. Someone who's already lost, like Wirt, will certainly be easy prey for a creature like this. Wirt attempts to blame Greg for the collapse of the mill, but the woodsman won't have it.
You are the elder child. You are responsible for you and your brother's actions.
Yes, among other things, Wirt is going to need to learn how to accept responsibility in his character arc. The woodsman then tells the boys to go north and look for a town, and leaves them with these parting words.
Beware the unknown. Fear the Beast and leave these woods. It is your burden to bear.
Right, yeah, got it.
Since the woodsman represents what Wirt could become if his character arc were to go differently, it's natural that he would give the thesis of this first chapter. It is your burden to bear. The woodsman, the lonely worker doomed to a life of solitude, is telling Wirt something he already kinda believes. Stay away from strange new experiences, keep fear in your heart, protect yourself at all costs, but most of all, he's in this alone. Navigating the dismal, winding woods of life with all of its horrors is all on Wirt's shoulders to take on by himself, and that emptiness he feels is just his duty or purpose, his burden to bear. This isn't a great outlook, but we'll start to see in the upcoming chapters that sometimes, when you're not expecting it, love can grow from the most unlikely of places, and it might even save your life. So if any of you went into this video thinking the story's main theme is going to be more about fear than love, you were probably just thinking of Home Alone, which is a movie that's all about fear and not love. I've explained it all over here in this video. But in any case, I'm curious to see if any of you in the comments can figure out what the first actual kind of love we're going to talk about is. It has a lot to do with the town they visit in the next chapter. And why not subscribe? I'm about 85% sure I'm going to get these videos out on a weekly basis, so worst case scenario, I don't. But, you know, 85%, that's pretty good.